So this photograph was made the first day I went to the dump. I had arrived at about 10 a.m. on a motorbike. It was hot as heck. It was really hot. The sweat was just pouring down my face. And I was walking across the dump, photographing a young boy, when I saw in the distance this figure with a hat. Now I was sort of freaking out. I mean, there was flies, it was hot. Like, conditions I never really worked in before. I'd been to Cambodia and Laos and places like that, and spent quite a bit of time in Asia, but this was something else. This was a whole new level. I remember counting 40 flies on my arms and my hands and my camera going into my mouth, and I was sort of freaking out by it all. It was like a bit too much for me. Thinking like, why the fuck am I here, and what's going on, and you know, how'd you end up here? You know, you should be like relaxing in Bangkok. And after I saw the figure, I thought, well, I'll walk over and photograph that person who was working. And it turned out the person was a little person. It was a young girl named Due. And she had such a grace and beauty to her. She was, when I first met her, she was digging through a purse she had found. And in the purse, there was nothing, but she was there was a joy to her, a happiness, a curiosity, like most children have. She hadn't been damaged, at least that I could see, by living where she was living. There was a beauty to her that made me feel like a little baby for crying and worrying about what I was going through. You know, I was going to go home after after my shooting of the day. I was going to go to a nice air-conditioned hotel room, have a good shower, some great food. And meanwhile, Dewey was going to stay in the dump. Afterwards, I was going to fly back to Canada. I had money, I had a passport. I could leave. Her life was this. This was her life. This is where she came from. This is where she lived. This figure here is her father. So, I mean, it's she was living in a totally different set of circumstances than I was, and I thought, well, what the heck am I whining about? Why am I worried about flies and heat and all this kind of stuff when her life was so much more difficult, and yet she had such a grace to it. At that point, I decided to man up and deal with it, stop being a baby, and I went back to the dump numerous times. That trip in May of 2013, I went back 8 days in a row, I believe, and I came back in November and photographed the family groups again for another 6 or 7 times. Eventually became friends with quite a few of the families. Due's family was especially nice to me. In the photograph, she's gathering plastics and bottles and the like with her dad. And then they end up taking these goods at the end of the week and getting a little bit of money for it. Her brother and she had an older sister and a younger brother. And the younger brother and Due used to follow me around the dump, looking into my camera and the videos and sticking their tongue out. And they had a lot of fun, especially the younger boy.